Hello, welcome to Mandala Mondays. We are going to do a small mandala here today. And what I have taken here is brown paper, and I have a ruler, a pencil with an eraser, and more pencils. And I have a compass with a pencil attached to it. And I have a protractor. So let's begin. Here I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to see what is the diameter of this circle, and it's almost close to 18 centimeters. So I have marked for the 9 right here, and I'm going to do the same vertically and horizontally, so it's going to be a 9 centimeters here. So I've got the center point of this round. Now I'm going to keep the sharp point of the compass in the center, and I'm going to, let's measure it. I'm going to take a 2 centimeters radius and I'm going to draw the circle. There are two ways of doing this. Either you do all the circles and then start doing the lines, or you first do the circles, do the lines, and then first do the lines and then do the circles. Either ways, you're going to be able to achieve a wonderful mandala. Here I've taken 2 centimeters radius. Now moving on, I'm going to take the next one as a 4 centimeters. Here what I'm going to do here is I'm doing even numbers. So it's going to be 2, 4, 6 and on and on. So the circles that I'm drawing are really light, because later I'm going to highlight them with a highlighter. For now, I've just made it a little darker here so it will be visible to all of you. And now I'm taking the 6 centimeters. Just a quick recap. The first circle was of the radius 2 centimeters. The second circle was of the radius 4 centimeters. And the third one, or the last one in this case, is of the 6 centimeters. So 2, 4 and 6. 2, 4 and 6. Now let's start doing the lines. The two important things in a mandala are the circles and the lines. Let me first do the one with the 90 degrees. So I'm just going to use my ruler and draw a line horizontally. Okay. Now I'm going to use my protractor and I'm going to start here exactly at the center point. I'm going to place my protractor exactly on the horizontal line, so it is a 0 degrees on one side and 180 degrees on the other side. So 0, 180. Here I'm going to go ahead and take 10 degrees, 20, 30, 10 degree angle. I'm going to mark on all sides, not just the top but also the bottom. So I'm just making a small dot here. When we get to the coloring part, we will erase all these. These are what I like to call the grid lines of the mandala. So we need these to be as exact as possible to get a very neat mandala. Okay, so we completed the top half of the mandala. Now we are going to the bottom half. So I did the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And let's move this 100, 110, 120. Please always look from the top or the top view in order to get your dot exactly. Please don't do it in the sideways. It always has to be a top. So these, even if it is for a small angle shift, it's not going to be precise. So we have completed that round where we did all the markings. Now you can either go ahead and draw a circle on top of these markings, or you can just leave it like that. It doesn't matter. That's going to become a bigger mandala. That's the only thing. Now I'm going to start drawing the grid lines. Now to draw the grid lines from the top and the bottom, I'm going to go 10 degrees on the top, 10 degrees on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that line. It's going to be line, and this line is passing or crossing the center point. All the grid lines are going to pass the center point. Now in the second way, I'm going to start off at 0 degrees, go to the 20 degrees. I'm going to start off at 0 degrees, go to the 20 degrees, and I'm going to draw the grid line. I'm going to continue doing that for all the dots that we have prepared. Okay. So this is a tip here. For it to be comfortable and convenient for me, I'm just going to move the round around like this. In case you are doing this mandala on a square paper or on a square canvas like this, it's similar. You just have to move this around. Or if you do not want to move it around, you just have to make sure that you have the angle right, you have the alignment right, and you can. Most people are comfortable doing it from a horizontal point of view, but I personally like to move the round around in order to get good grid lines. Okay. I'm going to continue drawing the grid lines. These are the basics. Once you get the basics right, the patterns that you add to a mandala is totally depends on your creativity. Once you have your grid lines set up, the colors that you choose to fill it in and the way of highlighting or drawing the patterns becomes easier because you have the grid lines ready. So the first half of this session, I am concentrating on getting the grid lines and the circles ready, and then we'll move on to the mandala patterns. If anyone interested to learn more, if anyone is interested to attend my workshops, please feel free to directly message me. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle here because I have all these spiral things coming. So I'm going to start off on the other side. You can continue from the side itself, but for me, I'm going to do it like this. Just always ensure that the lines are crossing the center line. That is one way of checking if you are on the right track or not. So a mandala is going to be inside of this outer circle, and outside the circle you can erase these dots and you can fill it in with color. It's totally up to how you want your mandala to look. Okay, so I'm continuing to do these grid lines. As you can notice, the more grid lines I draw, the center is becoming more bigger and darker, but that is absolutely okay. Once we complete the use of the grid lines, we are going to erase these pencil markings So it doesn't matter if it is a little darker or if it did not go as per your expectation. In case you did draw a grid line which is not as per your satisfaction, you can go ahead and redo it. That's the beauty of using a pencil. Even a little bit, if you feel it is off, you can always go ahead and correct it. So in this case, the top one was okay, but the bottom line just went a bit to the side by 0.1 centimeters. So this is what I'm going to do in order to correct it. I erased the lower part. Now I'm ensuring the grid line is going to pass the center line, and then I'm going to draw the grid line passing through this dot. So we have achieved almost about 80% of the grid lines. Now let's see if we can complete the rest of this without any hassle. As we come closer to these spiral binding, I have to be extra careful because there are chances that my ruler is not going to stick inside of this. So anyway, we do not need these pencil markings outside of our outer circle, so that is just there, and we don't have to take it all the way till the end of the page, right? So and this is the last one. I'm going to complete this, and this brings us to the end of the drawing of the grid lines. Now is the time when you can keep your pencil aside, your ruler aside, protractor aside, and your compass aside. So we don't need these things anymore. We are going to go ahead and focus on doing the mandala here. Now the grid lines are ready, the circles are ready. The next thing to do is to decide what you want to do inside. Here you can go ahead and highlight these lines, or you can erase all these pencil markings here and fill it with a different color. So that is totally up to how you want to do it. In this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my black pen and I'm going to start highlighting the lines in the center. Use a different pen. Here I'm using a high-tech Lakshar pen and I'm going to highlight this. This is going to look like spokes. Again, here there are two ways of doing this. Either you can do the highlighting of the lines first and then do the circle, or you can finish doing the circle and then highlight the spokes. If you are not in a mood to draw these lines, if you want to just fill it with color, that is also absolutely fine. As you can see, I'm moving around the book rather than me trying to comfortably set a pace to my drawing. It's much easier for me to move the book around. You see how some of the lines are bigger, some of the lines are smaller. That's absolutely okay. we're almost completing the first circle filling with the spokes. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of a trick here. Before doing the circle here, before highlighting the inner circle, I'm going to do a small U. Let me get closer. I'm doing a small U towards the end. I'm doing a small U, and it is touching the circle as well. Okay, I'm doing a small U towards the end to make it look like a flower. The edges are going to define that. You see how the flower is evolving or the flower is emerging. So I'm just doing a simple U towards the end. The small curve, just a small curve towards the end. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and highlight the circle. There is that space in between the circle and the U, which I'm going to just fill it up with the black ink that I'm using. Once I complete the circle, I'm going to concentrate on doing that. As you can see, we have completed the inner circle and we have completed the flower inside. Now I'm going to go over and just fill up those areas which had the pencil marking and which were close to the circle, highlighted circle. Once I have completed, I'm going to focus on the second part of the mandala, that is the area between the first circle and the second circle. You see, just by highlighting and just by filling in these areas, I'm getting a pattern that is emerging. You can do a curve like this, or you can do two straight lines. You can do a V. It's totally up to you. Okay, moving on. The second part of the mandala, as I was explaining, I'm going to put a dot in here, anywhere, but on the second circle, and I'm going to draw a curve. It's not exactly a straight line, it is a curve. And I'm going to go to this dot and I'm going to complete this. As you can see, it is not a straight line from this dot to here. It's a curve. You can continue doing this for the rest of the second part of the mandala, or I'm going to alternatively put these dots, so you'll see what exactly I'm trying to do here. Okay, I'm going to first complete this portion and then complete this portion, so I get a leaf kind of a pattern. Or you can continue doing only this portion all the way and then come back and do the rest of it. You have to be very careful. You're doing only alternate grid lines. You're putting these dots for all the alternate grid lines, and then we're going to come back and finish the rest. You'll see how the pattern is going to emerge here. I'm going to like this, as you can notice, I'm not doing the curve to the next grid line. I'm doing it to the immediate next grid line, like this. I'm going to continue all the way so I complete the second part of the mandala. As you can see, having a round canvas or a round paper is going to be really helpful in making something of this sort. Okay, so we have completed one portion, like we have come on the clockwise direction. Now we can go in the anti-clockwise direction, or we can simply focus on completing this part of the leaf. Earlier we had completed half the leaf. Now we are going to complete the rest of the leaf, other half of the leaf, and continue doing the same. Don't worry about the pencil markings and the little bit of smudges that are coming up here. Once we do the coloring, once we do the filling, this will go away. I'm just going to focus on getting a pointy leaf. Once we have this point, it becomes easier. Otherwise, there are chances that you could get confused or move on to the next grid line. Those unnecessary confusions can be avoided by having the dots ready. Okay, so this is complete, no confusions, and we can go ahead and complete highlighting the second circle. I hold these Monday mandala sessions. Anyone interested to learn mandalas can join these live sessions. Anyone interested to learn more about mandalas and join workshops, please feel free to message me or let me know you're interested in the comment section. I'm going to respond back with the details. You see how elegant our mandala is emerging? I'm using this black highlighter so that it looks very neat and clean. But if you're making a colorful mandala, you can use just about any sketch pen or a Sharpie, or just the pencil and then use the acrylic colors. We'll get to the coloring part in a different session. Today's session will focus on creating the mandala. So as I was telling you earlier, the whole point of making these are for the leaves. So either you can fill in this with the green color, and you can first go ahead and eliminate these pencil markings inside of the leaves. Only the grid lines which are inside the leaves, these are the ones that we are eliminating. Again, another simple tip here, don't try to put your fingers, or there will be some kind of smudge coming out of it because we are erasing this portion, either because of the sweat of your fingers or because of the again, the quality of the paper also makes a lot of difference. So what I'm doing here is I'm only getting rid of that pencil marking inside the leaf, and I'm going to wait for a while before I push it out. Okay, so in this way you can avoid the smudges, and always start doing the erasing after you have completed and left the ink to dry. Your highlighter ink has to be dried before you start doing the erasing portion of it. Okay, almost there, almost complete. We do have sessions for mandala patterns and different shapes, but in this session we're just going to focus on the basic patterns. So here, as we decided earlier, we are going to fill these leaves with green color, and we are going to just complete this portion of the mandala. I just highlighted the second grid line, which is in between this, and I'm going to highlight the third grid line and fourth grid line. Now, as I'm highlighting, I'm also thinking of doing some parallel lines. Parallel to the grid lines, I'm doing parallel lines. Not a lot of it, just two. One to the left and one to the right. Okay. First, what we did, we completed doing the leaf pattern. Then we came back and we did the erasing of the grid line inside the leaf. But outside the leaf, I first highlighted the line which was already there, and I drew another line, one to the left and another to the right. Okay. Continue doing that for the rest of the second part of the mandala. The second part of the mandala is nothing but the area which is in between this first circle and the second circle. Continue doing this. This is very, very relaxing. Straight line, that's it. Very simple, no complications. If you want it to be super perfect, of course you can use a ruler to get the exact two lines, one to the left, one to the right, or you can continue doing it with freehand. Again, it's totally up to you. You want to do clockwise or you want to do anti-clockwise. As long as the pattern is the same throughout, doesn't matter where you started and where you ended. Okay, so we have come to the end of the second part of the mandala. Now moving on to the third portion of the mandala, I'm again going to do the same that we did for the second part, but here it's going to be not this leaf, not on top of this leaf. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take these two leaves, say suppose this is leaf number 1, leaf number 2. In between these, I'm going to do the leaf here. So how is this going to be the point A? This is going to be the point B, and this is going to be the point C. Now I'm going to go from C to A. You see how I'm curving it naturally, and C to B. The same thing I'm going to do for the rest of it. So it should look like petals. So as I told you before, dot on the alternate grid line. This we have put a dot. We are not putting a dot here. We are going to put a dot here. So you continue putting the dots. If you are going to continue with the pencil, it is absolutely okay. Here I am using a highlighter, and then I am going to do the coloring. So I am going to continue putting all the grid lines, dots on all the grid lines. Now we are focusing on the third part of the mandala. First part, second part, third part. Now here just to have a little bit of fun, I'm going to do the opposite of what we did before. Earlier we went clockwise and we did only the top portion of the leaf. Now I'm going to go anti-clockwise and I'm going to do like this. Just be careful not to cross over to the next one. You see how beautifully my mandala pattern is emerging? It's very important to know the kind of tools to use when you're doing a mandala. And your highlighting pen should be absolutely comfortable for you. That's the most important thing. If you are not doing the highlighting, you're first doing the coloring and then coming back to highlighting, that's a different story. Okay, now we completed we went anti-clockwise and we completed all the second part of the leaves. Now we are going to go clockwise and we are going to complete the rest of the pattern. You see how simple it is once you got the dots and the lines and the circle. All you are focusing on is repeating the pattern over and over again until we complete the circle. See how simple it is? In further sessions, you can learn about different types of mandalas and what are the different tools to use in mandalas and how big a mandala can be and the varieties of mandalas you can do. Okay, so we have completed the third part of the mandala, but we have to complete highlighting the circle. So I'm going to start highlighting this circle. Towards the end you can do 2 circles or even these circles, each of these circles, circle number 1 you can do double, circle number 2 double, circle number 3 double. You can do that as well. When you are doing this circle itself, you just have to take a 0.2 centimeters more for the radius and then do another circle like during doing the grid lines itself. Now I'm going to continue the same. I'm going to get rid of this grid line inside, the pencil grid line inside. I'm going to get rid of this all the way. You must be wondering how simple this is, right? So since you start practicing mandala with different patterns and different varieties, you will start loving it. One thing, you need to have a lot of patience, and secondly, you should find a quiet place, no distractions, and you can do your mandala. It's very meditative. Okay, so this part is done. Now let's look at the portion where we are not going to do the coloring, but we are going to decide on a pattern here. Here again, I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm going to first highlight the center portion of it. Okay, once I'm done highlighting the center portion, I am going to simply do slant lines, as many as you want, but try to keep it consistent. On both the sides I'm doing slant lines, but the slant lines are emerging from the center line, so in that way you know exactly how far to go and where to stop. Okay, either you can continue doing it on all the sides as I told you before, or you can do alternate and leave the space blank. Here I don't want to do alternate, so I'm going to continue with this pattern. Again, it is up to you. You want to highlight the pencil grid line first, and then you can come back and finish with the slanting line. Just make sure that you are doing a top view when you are doing the drawing. Try to be consistent in doing the slant lines. You don't want to put too many on one side and too less on the other side. You will get an idea. Once you start doing this, you'll get an idea. And everyone's mandala is going to be unique, because we don't know which kind of paper or canvas you're using, or what kind of colors you're using. So each one's mandala is going to be different. But whenever you're doing lines, try to be as consistent as you can. Again, this is not going to be perfect. You have to understand that this is not a digitally created mandala for it to be perfect. It is drawn by a human, so obviously it won't be perfect. But you should be accepting the imperfection. You see how beautifully my patterns are emerging? Try to make as many here, and if at a point you feel there is space, try to fill it up with a single slant line. Okay? It is easier to do just a V, or it is better to think of it as a slant line and do it on both the sides. Again, please remember the left side slant line, how it is diagonally coming this way, and the right side, how it is going from bottom to top. Don't try to do this mandala or create mandalas in a hurry, because you might end up creating something like these slant lines all over, or asymmetrical slant lines. Try to make this a mirror of what is on the left side, and that way you will get these lines inconsistent with each other. At this point, you don't have to worry about the spacing, but at some point during your journey of creating mandalas, you will learn about the spacing and how important spacing is. So if we complete this portion of the mandala, it is like the completion of the mandala, because this is the third part of the mandala between the second circle and the third circle, or even you can call it the outer circle. Wherever you see there is a need for another line, only then you're going to do it. Otherwise you don't need to worry about it. Or if you're making your own pattern, you can do these slant lines on one side, and the other side you can color it in a different color. As I told you before, we are going to get rid of the dots and the grid lines outside of this circle. I hope you are enjoying this process of creating a mandala. I'm so focused on the mandala, so I'm not looking at your comments. After the session, I'm going to look at the comments. I'm going real slow. This is not usually the pace that I take to do the drawings, but I know some of you are doing it with me, so I want to give it more time. At any point in time, you can come back to this particular video and you can pause it and continue doing your mandala. Also, please note, when you start doing a mandala, try to complete the mandala within 24 hours. It's not like you started doing a mandala today and then after many months you're going to come back and complete it. It's important to finish what you begin. As I told earlier, please do sign up for other workshops and learn more about other artwork as well. Only 2 more to go. Last one here. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this mandala. Here, let's take a look at the mandalas. And this is a 300 GSM paper. So either you can use acrylic colors, paint to fill in the leaves, or you can use sketch pens or watercolors or crayons, or better still you can use Sharpies. Again, it's totally up to you. Try to use different colors or different combination of colors, and let's, as I told earlier, let's go ahead and erase these grid lines. We don't need these grid lines. Our mandala is ready. As this is part of my sketchbook, I'm not going to frame it, but the rest of you who are doing the mandala and who have the intention to frame it, please complete the coloring and do the framing. Or another way of looking at this is you can leave these pencil grid marks as it is, and you can do rainbow colors like a red, yellow, blue, green, all that all over here surrounding the mandala. You can do that as well. So any of the pencil grid lines inside of the mandala, you think that the highlighting is not done efficiently and you see some pencil marks here, you can go ahead and have to be very careful when you're doing that. You can go ahead and remove them. Okay, so all the erasing of the grid lines is complete and our mandala is here we go. So today what we did in our Mandala Mondays, we have completed a mini mandala, and I'll take leave from all of you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.